I can honestly say that Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is a really good film compared to Man of Steel, because Man of Steel was just a chore to sit through. That does not mean, however, that Batman v Superman is a good film in itself, because it's not. Before we go any further though, I'm going to try to avoid any major spoilers, so there we go. Okay, the pacing and editing in this film is it's all over the place. There's scenes that happen in this film that don't need to happen. There's just this random stuff that goes on in this film all the time. The pacing just doesn't work. Specifically these dream sequences, because Batman gets several dream sequences, I think like 5 or 6, and they just add nothing to the story. They're almost a waste of time, quite frankly. I mean, one minor spoiler, one of these dream sequences is when he's in a desert, and there's a point where Batman and some of these other guys with him, they're fighting these soldiers, and then all of a sudden the sky gets filled with these winged monsters and armoured helicopters everywhere, and they just literally just come out of nowhere, and you're all left thinking, what the heck is going on? And then of course you realise, oh, it's a dream sequence. It's a dream sequence, because he just didn't quite get, okay, what on earth is all this nonsense? And quite frankly, considering this film is about 2.5 hours, maybe a little bit longer, if you took out all the dream sequences, you could have saved yourself so much time, because there was just a lot of time wasting going on with this film. And like Man of Steel, this film was just so dark and brooding and depressing and miserable. I mean, for a film called Batman v Superman, it doesn't need to be so miserable. It really doesn't. I mean, look at Civil War, that's coming out soon. The trailers give you the impression, though, that film is going to be serious but light-hearted. This film, Batman v Superman, is just so miserable. It's almost unpleasant to sit through. At least, well, some of it anyway. But on a good note, what I will say is that the fight scene in Batman v Superman was really good. I definitely enjoyed the fight scene, and I think that it's something that they did really, really well. It didn't end very well, I must say. Again, I'm not going to spoil about anything what happens in this film, but the way the fight scene ended was just weak, quite frankly, and people who have seen this film will know exactly what I'm talking about. But let's talk about Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is a really, really great Bruce Wayne in this film. He is an excellent Batman. And I myself, like many other people, were a little bit slightly confused, should we say, that Ben Affleck was cast to be Batman. But I have to say, I stand corrected, he was a really, really good Batman. He was my favourite part in this film. I think he grabs your attention, your focus is always on him whenever he's on camera. And I'll even say that he's perhaps my favourite Batman, because I thought that the scenes with him and Jeremy Irons, who plays Alfred, were really good. They got great chemistry together. And you were definitely paying attention whenever those two were on screen. Henry Cavill, on the other hand, is just dull. He plays his Superman, Henry Cavill's Superman, is just so boring. His personality is flat. He has no charisma. That's one of the reasons why I really didn't like Man of Steel, because the main character in that film was just completely unlikable. And the segments when you get Ben Affleck interacting with Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck is just wiping the floor with Henry Cavill completely. I mean, he's a far superior actor compared to Henry Cavill, hands down. Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg would have made a really, really good Joker, but he makes a terrible Lex Luthor. Shall I tell you who would have made a good Lex Luthor in this film? Kevin Spacey. The biggest irony is that he did play Lex Luthor in that completely forgettable Superman film called Superman Returns. I don't remember anything about that film apart from the fact that Kevin Spacey played Lex Luthor, because I thought he was actually really, really good Lex Luthor in that film. I mean, could you imagine Kevin Spacey in Batman v Superman? He would have been fantastic. Not that Jesse Eisenberg is a bad actor, because he's not, but he just plays a terrible Lex Luthor. His performance in this film, he's just so crazy. He's giggling, he's mumbling, he's talking to himself. He's just, it looks like a psychopath, quite frankly. He doesn't play a good Lex Luthor. I mean, Lex Luthor is supposed to be this smart, savvy, evil, genius businessman. And when you look at Jesse Eisenberg in this film, that's just not Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg is, well, I think in all honesty, he's Lex Luthor in name only, because he's not Lex Luthor in any other category. If one of your favourite characters in the Superman franchise is Lex Luthor, when you look at Jesse Eisenberg, you would not think of him as Lex Luthor at all. Let's talk about the Justice League elements in this film. Now, we get very, very brief introductions, or at least cameo introductions, to Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. Of course, you see Wonder Woman a bit more in this film than you see the other three individuals. But it does seem like DC's trying to cut corners with this film. Because, well, take Marvel for example. Marvel took their time in regards to their cinematic franchise. You had like 2 Iron Man films, you had a Hulk film, you had a Thor film, you had a Captain America film, and then you had the Avengers. With DC, you had 1 Superman film. In this particular cinematic franchise, you had 1 Superman film, and then you're going straight to Batman v Superman. And we already have, and then of course you throw Wonder Woman into the mix, we have half the Justice League already. And then you get these little cameo appearances for the other members of the Justice League that will appear much later on. It just seems like DC is rushing to try and bring out the Justice League. They are not taking their time, they are not building up this universe effectively. And I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. Because Marvel did it right. They took the sensible route. With DC, it just seems very much like they're just rushing through. But back to Batman v Superman. Would I recommend this film? If you're a hardcore fan, yes. But I think even if you're a hardcore fan, you're going to be upset about this film. I think if you're a casual moviegoer, then wait until it comes out on DVD or if it comes on TV, quite frankly, because I wouldn't pay a full price cinema ticket to go see this. I mean, again, the fight scene is really good, Ben Affleck is really good as Batman, but everything else, I mean, it's 2.5 hours of largely just depressing, dark, brooding, miserable film, pretty much. It's from what you have to sit through to get a good, decent fight scene, it's just, I don't know if it's even really worth it. But yeah, like I said, if you're a fan of the franchise, yeah, by all means go see it, because you probably already have. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to think it's the greatest film, because for me, it was definitely better than Man of Steel, but not by much. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.